so product-wise, there's like two, I guess 3 main rollouts you could do. So the first one would be just like whipping your heavy out pretty much the entire time, just along cliff or so. And it's like kind of a standardish rollout, right? Like a lot of the time you'll just bomb from cliff, but there's a bit of, like, it could be improved a bit. I'm trying to remember where, but like in one of my vids, it's like older ones, you'd see like the role that I'd usually do is I'd just like whip people around main, like whip heavy around the same time-ish, and especially now that the whip has like got the bug fix in regards to like the hit reg, it's a bit more consistent. And it's like why you would do this is like you give your heavy a lot of the same speed boost, while also being able to like give your medic, especially, like, is a very important one, whoever else comes around main, like a speed boost as well. And then it's just like with run rocket, you land around here around the same time the heavy gets up to this point anyways, you give him another whip, you have like a full buff for this now as well due to how much time you spend rolling out with your medic. And then you are like around the same time you're able to like just have pretty much everybody on your team have had rolled out faster, like less chance of them just getting killed around main to bombs or whatever, while also being able to like relatively whip your heavy and whoever else goes around the cliff like the same amount. And then it's like when they're ready, you have a buff, you can either bomb right into them in pocket, or preferably it's like you can go for a bomb into their cliff. And this one is mostly what you do, like if their heavy doesn't really play cliff, if he slow rolls out there, or just in general, it's like there's a little bit of cover you can use there, or you can get on their pride, and it's like you just generally want to present a lingering threat. You could also get behind onto their China. And the main reason you do like one of those, you know, rollouts like to get above is so you're a lingering threat, right? Rather than just directly landing into them and getting reflected by their pyro, here you kind of get above, and you are behind the enemy team now, you're above them. If you're around here, you can keep like peeking their heavy, whoever else is around cliff, like getting to the other side of them, and you just consistently spam into them in pocket, and that's a lot more valuable in the long term than the midfight, unless you can like instantly get a medic kill with your bomb into them. Basically, it's like it opens up a lot more for your spy, and it also means your team has a lot more freedom to move across point. The enemy team might be sending other players who would otherwise be walking your demo, like their scout or their heavy or something or soldier, to deal with you on their China or cliff. So it's like definitely, if you have the option to, if you can with your bombs, just instead of instantly going for like impact at a risk, do a play that gives yourself options, basically. Like, do something that is going to consistently pressure the enemy team, so it's easier for your team to work off of it. If I say. Second bomb, like you already kind of saw that, you just land right into their pocket, you go for just like a damage trade there. Another one you can do is you can kind of try and land into their medic on main, or go a little bit above Japan and land them on main. And for that one, it's like you gotta be very consistent, very fast with that, and that's kind of reliant on the enemy team having a slow rollout for their medic and like lingering around main. But then if you can get that bomb off, it's like the most immediately rewarding, because you get so much damage on like the entire enemy team around this area. But again, just like, I wouldn't do it for... What was that?
I'm just saying, be careful about that one pyro though that expects you to do it every time.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It isn't something I would suggest doing immediately, but like after the first round or so, like if you're able to pick up on the enemy team's habits a little bit, if you see their rollout in the first round, I'd say maybe try it then. But then I wouldn't keep doing it. You know, I'd keep switching up a bit. Maybe one round jump directly into them, another round jump into their cliff or China, another round jump into their main, basically, and just keep switching up. You can do a concrete rollout, but I'll be honest, it's like a little bit of a baiter strategy unless you just have a lot of trouble on the flank fights on mid, in my opinion. Because it's like you get so much value from having more pressure from different angles, from just having your soldier get in on them and opening up space from your combo, than just spamming into them for like 40 damage rockets from your concrete onto their pocket. And there are matchups, like if they're just flaying their flank, it could be the correct play to bomb them from your cliff onto, like, on concrete, or just like kind of just getting in the way of their flank. They're preventing them from overrolling your team if their flank is able to do more than you in the midfights. Like what you'd want to do is try and negate their flank so that your team can hopefully like get an advantage of them on their combo. It's just like Usually you want to go for plays as a flank, you want to try and force the enemy team's hand, you want to make plays on your own, but then especially for product or like call maps, if you're not effective or if their flank is just drastically more effective for one reason or another with their plays, you want to play a lot more passively, like a lot more around Seagull, just a lot more passively in general, and make sure their flank can't get anything done either. Like, if you can't really thrive by being proactive and taking the initiative, then your goal is to make the enemy flank stagnate as much as possible there while you stabilize things for your team. Yeah? Sort of like the general theory for product soldier in general. Otherwise, it's just like, if you know you're going for a sack wave, hang around here for a little bit, your medic's probably playing behind house, maybe behind cliff, just match them wherever they go, get a buff, then just bomb in at the same time as everybody else, pretty basic stuff. That being said, if your team is going for a fight, and the enemy flank consistently has been pressuring your flank that much, or like with their pressure hasn't really gone much onto your team, then it's very reasonable to just get up on your cliff and bomb in during the dry fight to initiate to support your team and just to get a lot of damage on the enemy combo and draw eyes away. It's very reasonable to do that. If the enemy team is forward holding on your cliff, then you can come out through main. I don't have the health for that right now. And you just bomb into them from behind, from the side, you force their pyro to look away, maybe your demoman does something off that or your spy, but a decent bit of the time it's just like, using this little wall you can kind of land into them and pass them, like past their pyro, and kind of just like split their combo up, force people to dive away, and just kind of bust their play, their forward hold basically. If they're holding in hazard, again, you can kind of bomb into them from cliff. It's a really good one though, because it's just, as long as their pyro doesn't all like keep reflecting you, and can't single-handedly focus on looking up, because you land right in the middle of the entire enemy team, or you can like curve above them and land in rockets into them anyways. It's pretty good to do. So yeah, if your team's calling they're taking a dry fight, go up on cliff, bomb over, I'd say, you know, get in on the fight actively. Otherwise, if you need more flank presence, or if you aren't getting anything done from like stacking up resources where your combo is playing out already, from just going in constantly from the same angles they are, the correct play then is to pressure their flank. So that's the second option, pressuring their flank. The first is just coming up on cliff and just bombing in constantly. It's really easy to just get nothing done with that though, to just get denied, because it's so easy to surf out on product. So if that isn't working, definitely I would say default to pressuring flank, roll out concrete. If your team gets forward on their cliff, forward hold their concrete, have your wrangled mini on their concrete, maybe around here, and like forcing them to play on the low ground though, using the height disadvantage, and just make sure they aren't busting out through main. You can rocket them around there, you can prevent their flank from doing anything, from threatening your team at all. And you just buying your team time there, it's very good to play forward there. If they're playing around main, you can kind of high bomb over here and just like 2-rocket their medic when they're sitting behind house if your team's holding forward, and that's pretty good. Otherwise, you could try and like curve it in high from above house, curve into them, land rockets against the wall. That one in specific, pyros have a bit of a tendency to struggle with angle-wise just because of the curve. Curves are really nice for the bomb, especially if you can have it be like a natural curve that naturally lines up with your aim. And that way you can kind of focus like more on the bomb itself, more on the movement, and less on having to like hit the shots. Like, it just kind of takes a bit of anxiety off your hands and makes it mentally easier for you if you could kind of have a mental image in mind, if you can be prepared ahead of time to aim. And yeah, it just allows you to sync up a lot better, just being able to visualize things like that. Anyways, hold their concrete when your team's forward. If you want to pressure their concrete, have your spy going for a stab on the wrangled mini, and then just try and peek their soldier, because their soldier's looking at your spy in that precise moment, so you can get a rocket or two onto them. If they're playing concrete, just keep swinging wide, don't stay against the wall, don't stay in the same spot, and don't be the first person to walk into connector just to bomb roll out into connector from your grass. Otherwise you're just asking to get 2-rocketed in connector against in any of this area basically. Never be the first person to peek a connector basically, unless it's intentionally to bait an enemy soldier down from Seagull onto their concrete so your spy can stab them. And it's like, you're almost always working with your spy to get an NG or a soldier pick, and then you can just get onto their grass from that flank pick and sort of deathball. Your scout can just kind of follow you generally, you get in on their Trina, and then boom, you're behind their team. If you can't get value for bombing, then you're trying to look to bust through their flank and get them from behind to present a threat from a different angle, so your team can walk in, and so you can just force the enemy team's hand basically. You don't always have to work with your spy there. If you're able to just bust through anyways, go for that. Make sure you're not all taking the same damage on flanks then. Make sure you're just like kind of baiting the enemy flank you don't want to just keep walking into connector and dying. If your spy is trying to go for sniper a lot and can't get them, usually but have your spy help you on the flank though, and then just get in. If you're struggling a lot with soldier on flank in specific and you don't want to rotate spy over, you can rotate pyro to flank. That takes care of their soldier. If you're struggling a lot with like hit scan or just general health and survivability, heavy can be good. You don't really ever want to like. Okay, so a lot of flank is rotational based. So as an example, pyro counters soldier, heavy can kind of counter scout. Sometimes soldier, especially pyro. So it's like, usually the answer isn't to send the same exact things as the enemy team to the flank. It's to either meet what they're sending, like it's either to like contest what they're sending on the flank with like better pick classes, kind of like just countering the classes they've sent to help to the flank and countering whoever you struggle with the most on flank, or just kind of giving up on the flank fight, not continuously throwing your head against a wall, kind of getting your flank players up and just holding passively, having the rest of your players kind of focus more on walking across points based off of who they have on the flank. Like if they're overcoming to the flank, you can kind of just deathball as a result of that, and you don't want to keep just throwing your head against a brick wall if you can't out-rotate the enemy team and just keep out-pressuring them on the flank. Anyways, as a general rule of thumb though, your third option to playing Product Soldier is just to make the enemy flank stagnate, to make sure they can't get anything done. If you can't get anything done, make sure nobody has fun on flank, and just sit Seagull. It's very hard for you to die here. Your engineer can just have a mini-up, deal with spy, watch connector, you can 2-tap people in connector, and kind of going along with that, you're going to spend a lot of your time AFK spamming into their pocket here, making sure their pyro's wasting ammo, reflecting, looking away from your demo man, so he's like not reflecting everything, distracting for your spy, and just generally getting damage done. It's kind of low impact damage though compared to getting a ton of kills from either bombing in the like, it's sustained spam, sure, but you want like high impact spam that really presents a unique angle, like from getting in from behind, or just like getting a lot of damage from bombing. It's like having good damage is nice and all, but if you go for plays that are naturally going to have impact, go for the plays that help your team the most, you're naturally going to find yourself having a lot of damage. So it's like, don't worry too much about just like blindly spamming in around that angle or so into their pocket, but if you're not able to get anything done on flank or from bombing, definitely spend a fair bit of time just spamming to Seagull when they start pressuring flank and make sure they can't walk past their flank. It's pretty simple. It's like, just go with one of those 3 strategies, pretty much, yeah. Questions?
No.
Okay. And then if you have any like further confusion or anything, like I do have I have a product demo review that kind of explores those concepts a bit further up on my channel, or it's like, yeah.
Can we also do Asheville? That's a very common scrim map. Yay.
And hopefully we will not have to take any more breaks for pauses.
More breaks
Shot.
and pauses.
Morbius.
Shot, did she message you?
Yes.
Then go, buddy.
It's gamer ring time.
Alright.
You can go either to the scrim room, or you can just call her. Because you two need to practice with each other.
I was gonna do gaming.
Alright, then go do it.
Jaming. We're just doing like an around the world review and everything review.
You're on your way to Asheville. You're on your way to Product.
Next up, we'll be on our way to Brazil.
Please
Okay.
no.
You will have to pay me money to avoid being sent to Brazil.
Bro, like, I played that in 4s, please.
Oh, yeah, it's
No.
awful.
And they forced me to play Pyro on it.
It's so decided by that like singular high ground area. It's so rad. Anyways, back to the subject at hand. Asheville. Midfights. Walk around here, whip your heavy, whip your sniper especially. A lot of loadout soldiers don't do that, but getting your sniper up to shutter is how you win, or like whatever spot they want to go to is really game winning for the midfights. It means they can deny the enemy snipers sooner. It means they can occasionally get a headshot on the medic as they're rolling out to the midfight. It is so game winning, and you can be doing that while you're whipping your heavy. Ask your medic for a buff, like finish your buff around here, so use rocket, jump to bats, and then either call, like, wait for a bomb call from your team, or like call that you're bombing in X amount of seconds, right? Like when they're specifically walking in, or immediately as you get to bats, go for a bomb, and just either try and like land on where, like, if the enemy team backs out a lot to ramp, you can do that. Just find out what works best for you, keep modulating your bombs a little bit, like delay sometimes, coordinate sometimes, other times just go in instantly. Your engineer should be rolling out bats with you, so they should be helping you if you have a scout shooting at you on the roof or anything like that. You might want to delay it for a little bit. If the scout's actively looking at you, just wait for the scout to look away. And then when you're actively bombing, you kind of have one of three options, right? So the first option, if you're waiting for your team to call the bomb, or like you get a really fast rollout, you can land on their shutter. You could probably do it with like one rocket, and insta-kill their demoman, basically. That's like a very aggressive bomb. You can always do that, pretty much. Like, it's a good option. It's also what you do if the enemy team clumps around shutter a lot, like if they are slow to commit, if they leave like their medic sniper shutter or something and you notice that. Like, the great thing with Asheville, right, is that you basically get a scope of everything when you bomb. You see how the enemy team reacts to what you do, you see how the enemy's default to rolling out, you see when, like, if they, like, on the first mid-fight, basically, you can see, like, if they're, like, backing up to ramp, if they're clustering around shutter, so on and so forth. It's really, really wonderful. Like, there's so many options for your bombs, and you basically get a scope of that instantly, and you want to keep adjusting your bombs for the mid-fights based off of what you're seeing on how the enemies react, like, and just keep forcing them to adapt. So, yeah, if they're if their demo man is, like, super low, your demo man calls bomb demo, just insta-land demo either shutter or, like, around here. So if they have players just grouping up around shutter, you can bomb into their shutter, like, if they're all slow. Otherwise, you could bomb their toxic for sniper, or you can bomb directly into the ramp. That's usually my favorite one to do, and that's usually, like, what you do if you know they're all grouping up on ramp. Either way, like, you know, just make sure you're either insta-bombing or you're timing it with your team. Don't in between it, you know, make sure you're either coordinating or you're doing it at a time where the enemies are still rolling out, where they're not in a good position to deny your bomb. Those are, like, the two, like, you have to meet one of those two criteria if you want your bomb to be effective. And just keep changing things up, yeah. Anyways, toxic or ramp. Other two options. So that is your bats rollout. You are almost... Okay. There's a thing that some soldiers would do where they just sit bats the near entire mid-fight and then just bomb in, like, at the very end of that. And that is, like, the most baiting, shitty thing you can do. You have zero impact for, like, next to the entire mid-fight. You already have your engineer watching this, and the thing is, right, you're, like, bombing or collapsing whatever you're cleaning up, but by that point, the mid-fight is already decided. So it's like, congrats, you've just made your team lose the mid-fight, because soldier bombs are so integral to the mid-fight. Like, never just, like, sit around your bats, is my advice. But your other option, besides just, like, fast bombing for the demo man, sniper medic, or delay bombing onto the ramp, toxic, whatever, roll out to their bats with your scout. And what this allows you to do is it denies their players from being able to bomb your ramp from their bats. It allows you to, like, get picks on their flank, prevents them from getting, like, a mini or a sniper step on their bats. But most importantly, like, if you're struggling with your bombs across your bats, this allows you to pressure their shutter and collapse from behind, or even get in behind their ramp. I will say, this one isn't as baity, but, like, it is a bit of a longer rotate, so it's like, it's very possible that the mid-fight's already decided by that point. But usually, it's like, you call, we're in position behind, back up for a little bit, you know, wait for us to be in position, and then we'll collapse with you. And that's what this rollout allows you to do uniquely, like, going into their side of the map instead of bombing from your side. It allows you to collapse from a different angle. And as long as your team is alive, you're going to get fantastic things done there. But again, definitely, like, you tell your scout where you're going for the mid-fight, you tell your team where you're going for the mid-fight. Usually you want your scout playing on, like, whichever side of the roof you're going to be playing on. And for that, it's like, it really helps you with their scout. You're not always going to do this, though, like, I mean, it just depends on the individual team. Some teams prefer their scouts just walking right across the point, botting for demo men, but a lot of the time, like, you can just have your scout roll out to their roof, to this roof, and shoot the demo man, like, kind of injure him, chip him down, or from that roof anyways. And it's just really good if you coordinate with your scout on Asheville. You almost always want to be going in with them, because it's like, everybody's so split up, you get splashed, your scout easily follows up on it, you get a bomb, you hit them for like 140, your scout just hits them from the roof, so on and so forth. But the main thing you want to keep in mind, like, you can get a lot of damage on their demo man as scout just from playing the roof while supporting your soldier and allowing him to like get behind and then supporting him afterwards. But you know, like, it just depends on the team. Maybe your scout doesn't like doing that, maybe you have your own reasons, so on and so forth. Maybe it's not actually that good. But that's what I always personally enjoy doing on the flank, and it allowed our flank fights to be like super impactful in the mid fight. But you know, play around your own team, what your own team wants. Definitely just be vocal about it though. You have such a long rollout time. Like, well, not like, I don't know, like, it's not really a long rollout, but you have a lot of time, like, while you're spawning, like, while you're rolling out to discuss the rollout, to discuss what you're going to be doing on the rollout, and to be discussing the mid fight. And that's something that you should definitely be taking advantage of. It's like, you don't need like pointless comms or just like random discussion. Use that time to your advantage and make sure that you are going to be a star player for that mid fight, that you are going to determine how it goes, because you are. So those are your two main options. They of course branch. Just decide on how you want to take it, you know, based off of the matchup. Don't just have a preconception every time, but take note of things. Otherwise, holding. If your team is forward holding, your spy is playing on their ramp, or around here, or around their lobby. They're calling when snipers going in. You are either playing on this roof, baiting enemies in, and then just 2-rocketing them, or you're playing around like this barrel up here, and it puts you in a good position to bomb around the time your spy calls are walking bats anyways. And this also means if your team is walking in their shutter, like, if you just want to whip your heavy and do a quick sack through here, if the enemy team just continues to sit around shutter doing nothing, you can get a lot of picks like that. Otherwise, your team might take an ad push into them, and being around the barrels is like a very easy way to just rotate in and collapse them. If your team is taking a push into their shutter with ad, you always want to be bombing in their bats. It's like playing closer is definitely a good thing you can do there. But then another advantage to just like playing around the barrel there, like, there's three angles you can really easily cover. Shutter already covered that, bats already covered that. But then ramp, like, allow me to delve into the theory here a bit more. If you're just sitting back here in ramp, you're asking for the enemy team to just eventually pressure you out, to like equalize the fight on the flank here. If you're playing up there, it's a little bit risky. Like, you can do it. Another option you have is forward holding their lobby, but I want you to think about this for a little bit, right? Your spy is just cloaking, calming exactly when they're going ramp. They see no resistance on ramp, so their sniper peaks at the same exact time as their flank, which means when you jump into this this spot, you're hitting like 2 or 3 players. Instead of just slogging it with their flank and eventually getting pressured out, you were taking matters into your own hand and just kind of neutralizing their flank with your spy. It's like, if your team is forward, definitely just do this, I would say. That is my advice to you. And that way it's just like, yeah, it prevents the enemy team from working their sniper and ramp if you're able to just stuff them entirely rather than you just getting pressured out and having a little bit of time where they can work their sniper and ramp. Again, never take equal fights if it can be helped. Always swing fights to your favor. That is how you win as soldier. That is how you take advantage of your mobility as soldier. And just always be supporting your team. Always be going in for them. It's not like Product as much where you need to like super consistently hold specific areas of the flank. Like, you always want to be collapsing. There's so many angles you can collapse, so many choke points that you just stuff and get massive damage on by just bombing, committing, and just getting in. Always be putting pressure on the enemy team. Always be taking advantage of things and just play super fast, super dynamic, and adjust as your team needs them to. Usually your engineer and your scout could be more passively holding. They can lock enemy players off at roofs. So it's like, the only real time you need to super consistently hold a flank is just making sure you're in a position to collapse on this ramp here. You don't always want to be holding their ramp. Again, it's better to bait the enemy players in and then kill them all rather than to just get pressured out and let them get kills on you or your team. If your team is holding passive though, this roof is a pretty good hold. You spam them on the roof, you can test them. They spend a lot more time looking at roof trying to clear it off. You make sure you get a buff, you know, you're on gunboats, pretty much all of Ashville, never run banners or cloth, that is such a throw. You always want to be able to bomb. Don't run black box either, also game losing thing. Bombing is good, bombing is vital. Be repositioning, be mobile. Stock, gunboats, whip. That is your loadout for cloth. Anyways, if your team is at disadvantage here, or even if it's even, something you can do is kind of play passive crouch around here. Have it be called when they're dropping down. This is especially good as a force when you're at disadvantage though, like, and your team's holding ramp. Be playing here, and just shoot rockets into them from above. The Empire is usually peeking this or making sure they're not dying to spy. So it's like, you're usually very, very, very easily able to force a medic if you're playing on roof here when your team is passive holding ramp, or when you're needing a force. So it's like, if they're calling for a force and your team is holding point, do that. If they're pushing shutter, either just bomb into their shutter, trade your life for the force, trade your life for picks, like sniper, you know, you can very easily get them in shutter, or play passively for the post fight, like when your team's calling it. That's usually more on pushes though. So pushes, sacs, bats, buff, jump, one rocket across, win. Make sure your spy is calling where their medic's at. Occasionally you'll see them 420 crates, occasionally you'll see shutter, make sure it's called. One rocket like this, boom, you're in, other people collapse, you're good to go, have a buff, get whips. Don't be standing right around here, you're going to take a ton of damage from demo and be playing further back. Don't needlessly peek sniper and all going at the same time. Very easy to sack. Another thing, as soon as the enemy team captures the point, they're going to be out of position. If you were alive, you were on bats, like you were just finishing a rollout, or like you're rotating out and you're trying to play the post fight, like as the enemy team caps point, it is such a perfect time to bomb. Their medic is almost always going to be around this same exact area. Their pyro is still going to be on point usually. It is a really good time to bomb. You can expect enemy teams to sometimes do the same. It's very easy to know when enemies are going to sack on Ashville. That doesn't make it any easier to deny necessarily though. It's important that you keep just kind of switching what you do up. Just never give the enemy team a chance for a reprieve, and if they're down pyro, bomb into them on ramp, as long as their medic is called on ramp. If they have no pyro on ramp, you get this force every single time, you get the drop, you get the medic kill every single time. It is almost always the correct play if they're down pyro there. Otherwise, if you're not actively sacking and your team is sort of sitting around, have the call be made to work your sniper ramp, play with your sniper on ramp, maybe get behind their bats and then collapse from their ramp, but just generally make sure like that you get their flank first and that your sniper is able to get set up on ramp. Don't just sit around on bats the entire time. It's easy to do that. If it's a dry fight, you could also bomb in from roof, like from bats, when it's called that your team is taking the fight. Their pyro is usually distracted. You can easily get a kill med kill there. If you can get a med kill on Ashville, get a med kill on Ashville. It's super easy to do and super high impact. And the thing is, right, when you're bombing for medic, you're not just bombing for medic. You're usually getting damage on the pyro, the heavy, the sniper, the NG, the demo, whoever else is playing around the medic as well. So unless it's specifically called to like target a sniper on toxic or like a demo man on a rollout, I almost always like center of massing the medic on a bomb, unless their pyro like never plays close and protects their demo man and sniper. If they're not protecting a certain class, go for that class instead. It's just a free pick for you, basically. If the enemy team is making mistakes, take advantage of those mistakes, basically, and just always be working with your team. Whether it's to equalize or to just win a fight. Wait for post-fight calls, bomb in. Initiate, go in. Either be initiating or be playing for the post-fight, basically, at any given time. And if you're not doing either of those two things, if you're not actively taking a fight, then be working a player in at some angle or make sure an enemy flanker is getting in. But it is so rewarding, and you can really see like a good soldier apart from a regular soldier based off of what they're doing on Ashville and how they play it. It's a really good chance to prove yourself. Another big thing, if your team is on bats, they're trying to push from bats, the sniper's called bats, especially if they're called alone, drop everything else you're doing, bomb their bats, kill sniper. Even if they have protection, if you can work with your spy and their bats, kill their sniper, you are not getting a push unless that sniper goes down. Basically, coordinate and bomb. Those are the two things you're doing on Ashville. If you take a fight, a lot of the time it can be through a bomb. There aren't that many times where you're just like randomly shooting across the center of the point or on even footing. There's almost always an advantage to be worked off of, and you just have to find that advantage and keep taking that advantage. Questions?
No.
Anything else you wanted to go over?
Alright, Steel next, I'm just kidding.
Around the world. No, I actually do have a very detailed text guide for Steel.
Texas guy?
What I'd usually do is saying if you want, I could send you that. And that could kind of cover in the meantime, and then I could do like a full review for you and specific like demo review for Steel at some point. Do you have any other like things you want to talk about or like a demo you'd want to go over while we're still here?
Gibby, would you like him to see your Asheville game since you felt that was your best?
Oh, yeah.
Send me that.
I'll send it.
I am only doing this as a flex, by the way, given how long this has already gone for. I'm kidding.
You're doing what as a flex?
The the everlasting review.
Oh, I thought reviews were just that long.
No.
Depends on the person. I tend to take a lot of time.
Listen, I don't pay attention to people like that. I just like pay attention to it when they're teaching. That's all.
That's
I
fair,
don't know
that's
what
fair.
I sent you, by the way, but this is the correct one.
Like I don't care if your ass is big. I just want the review.
Right, right. Oh, it's the same
Yeah.
one. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's a lot more about what you provide than like your than what you are on paper.
Yeah.
Don't really need that much formality for sure.
Hey, Gabby.
Yes,
Hi.
right.
Chaos and
Let's-
Gaming, by the way.
Yeah, I just saw him opening up CO2. So and question mark. And
I'm just wondering if
And?
you're playing Tier 2 again.
I wonder how long has this been going on for, anyways.
7 months.
Ooh.
I think you meant the review, not the team.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, for probably like 2 hours. 2 hours and 30 minutes.
More like 1.5, but yeah, we're close.
We can do some math, you know. We can multiply it. We can fake the numbers.
God, let's just see all hope. Let's just hope all goes well for tonight.
You got this, man.
The power is in your hands.
I might just do a little warm up and walkway. I don't really want to grind that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. Exhaust yourself too much.
I mean, during the week I do 4-hour grinds.
Training arc.
Yeah. And then
Hey, Blip.
I taper off during the scrims.
I see.
Hey, Blipsy. This probably might be not related to TF2 or something, but like, what do you think is like a good thing to do before, like, you know, for warm up for Soldier? Like, besides 2-hour walkway or something, or NGA? Like, how do you, like, you know, get into the just to like get into the mindset?
I take anxiety medicine, I make sure to eat, and then I kind of like I overdose on caffeine. Now, that advice might not be applicable to you, but it's all about like finding your state of mind, like being in a state of like just relative confidence, because it's like something I used to struggle with a lot, like when I was first playing an invite with like Goose Lagoon in Season 9, is like Season 8 I did fantastically, I was always super confidently. See, Season 9, like, I was anxious for like a lot of reasons in and out of game, kind of like the team included, but it's like my performance went a lot down as a result. Like my comms were like a whole lot worse, although honestly that was just due to like anxiety, more of a personal thing. But definitely like it's important to have mechanical consistency, especially with like your rocket jumps, and you're gonna have a lot less consistency if you aren't in a good state of mind for it. So I definitely recommend just like making sure you have water. Honestly, just playing the game on a casual level and just mellowing out a bit helps as well, you know, just dropping some rockets. Then, yeah, just eating. Yeah.
One thing, I think what Blitz is essentially, in simple terms, trying to explain is a routine that you do before you begin.
Yeah,
As
just like a
well.
consistent routine.
Like, I know some invite players and sixes wash their hands before they begin, and that turns on their comp mode. Like, somehow. But essentially, that when it's like late at night and they wash their hands, that's when they feel ready to go.
Well, I usually like listen to music.
Maybe like listen to some music, you know, play some casual, just relax a little bit before it, yeah?
Yeah, I usually listen to like an entire playlist of Eminem before, you know, doing anything. It's like Eminem's like my confidence.
Another thing I'd recommend is like kind of like I'd say this is pretty applicable. Like mentally, like hyping yourself up a little. Well, like not necessarily hyping yourself up a little bit, but just like preparing yourself to like coordinate with your team. You know, just have some fun with your teammates, talk with your team, make sure you're feeling at home with them for the night, make sure you're socially comfortable. I mean, that kind of goes along with the routine again, but definitely just get excited for it. That is the biggest thing by far. Like, Soldier is so driven by like just activity, being able to kind of like predict, being able to just be mentally on top of it, being prepared to do a lot of things, being prepared to be like very active, very fast, at least for me personally. Like, so it's like I definitely recommend just like mentally getting excited for it, or like just talking to new teammates, you know.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if you're not really looking forward to it, if you're feeling a bit drained, if you're not feeling excited, like I think it's gonna show a lot on really like any class, but especially for something like Soldier, because there's so much you can do.
I think it definitely showed on Scout.
Yeah. I mean, we're also offering like Gibby the soldier spot, but he still wants to fight for the scout slot. Problem is, there's not that many soldiers.
And it's like a schizophrenic, it's like a hard decision thing going on, but if their Scout spots are filled, then I do not mind taking Soldier.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's see this.
By the way, don't watch me. I'm the heavy. Don't watch me too much, because I get
Okay.
trick stabbed.
Alright, fair enough. Let's see, giving some people the whip. Sure, yep.
Let me just say, before I was playing this map, like I had no really had barely had any knowledge of how to like do the gameplay here.
Right, so it's like just thinking, like just trying to do, like, not mess up, yeah, just trying to have control of the map. No, I could get that, yeah. I do see, like, you whipping players around there, you didn't really get buff for your medic, not the biggest deal if you didn't know too much what to do, but definitely I do like you to see you going bats, you know. Controlling the map is good, it's just, like, the bombs are important, yeah, but we've already covered that, like, there's no use really talking about it further.
Yeah, and I think I think Armet's gonna be talking to Casper.
Oh,
And then,
Casper's
like,
good.
Yeah, about like her medic. So I'm hoping that like she's gonna improve drastically. So the entire team's gonna have a better time.
Right. Ooh, they're forward holding bats. You're not going to contest them bats. Yep, that's pretty reasonable. You don't want to just like immediately die to them. For sure. I do think with their heavy being bats there, you could maybe just like try and speed shot as Soldier in specific here and just like land into them and help clear them out from a different angle. Or like maybe try and go from ramp and collapse from a different angle. I do like trying to support your team. You don't really encounter the bats too much. I've encountered like once versus MCM, I think it was. But I think it's just like really important in general. Good DM. To just try and land from like different angles to reach the same goal. Like it's kind of difficult to be that effective shooting specifically from low ground against high ground. Like Soldier wise. But definitely like I do like seeing you support the team. Shot down the spy, that's good. I do see you're rolling out bats a lot. That's good as well. Nice fundamentals there, even if you don't already have like that much of an understanding of it, for sure.
I just went there to just check the spy, see if he was still around.
Yeah, definitely make sure he's cleared out.
Gibby was a scout for 7 months straight. If that helps like identify his behavior.
It does, yeah. Scoug. Interesting to see some Kritzkrieg play for sure.
Like there were times like in this VOD, I was like trying to bomb, but as soon as I like saw the sniper or like heavy, I was like, oh shit, I can't do that yet.
My suggestion here would be to work your sniper ramp. If you're not really like, and I guess like, you don't know, you don't really have that much of a basis. Oh, you do get ramp, cool. You don't have much of a basis to work off of there, but definitely it's like if you're finding you're not getting things done in bats, like you see how far their team's playing around the point there, like having your sniper peek, this means their heavy dies there. It means you're able to like do something. If you feel like you're not able to have impact on bats, you do go in for the bomb here. You have a low HP player, so you target them. That's good. It was sniper, especially good. So you bomb in, support the team. Great work there. You just seem to have some good mechanics.
Yeah, like, and like the biggest thing I'm trying to work on, like for Soldier, is like, you know, basically just like positioning and just like jumping, as well,
Right.
like playing roamer in general.
That makes sense, yeah. Just trying to figure out, like, kind of what to talk about or go over that, like, wouldn't have really been covered by just, like, the baseline if there wasn't that much of a baseline to work with. Let's-
Alright then. Alright, here's what you can do. Name every soldier main.
Sixes or Highlander wise.
America. America is the soldier main. You go on roof, you're spamming from roof. Respectable. Your team's already kind of backed out of the mid-fight, so you do disengage there. That's pretty wise. If they're calling for a sack, though, like your medic's down, I will say it's probably better just to trade your life for that anyways, as long as it's, like, remotely realistic. Because it's like, I don't know, you're kind of... It does suck they died, but it happens, like, at the end. Definitely, it's like, if you think it's unrealistic that you're gonna go out, like, if you think you might get chased, it's usually better to just die faster and respawn sooner. Generally speaking, though, like, if you lose the mid-fight, a lot of the time it's just gonna be, like, you know, just going for medic. I do think there it's not the worst idea to just back out there, seeing, like, the positioning they had from what you saw and most of your team being dead already. But, like, if you ever feel like you're at a loss of what to do on a mid-fight, like, what... and your team is, like, I don't know, still relatively fighting, I would say just, like, go and try and trade your life for your medic if your medic goes down, for sure. Do kill heavy.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this now. I did not know I could call other people to get to my side. Like, for example, if I'm at bats, I did not know I could tell a sniper to say, "Hey, sniper, can you come to bats?" I usually just rely on my own self to just, you know, just to fight others, and without others helping me.
Right. But what really makes a good soldier isn't just, like, sheer mechanics or anything. Like, you'll have sixes soldiers that kind of blow in Highlander, and there's some exceptions, of course, like Soapymeister. But, yeah, what really makes soldier plays work in Highlander is the coordination. Like, being able... It's not about, like, having super great mechanics. Having great mechanics really helps. It opens up more options, but what's most important is being able to create those options for yourself, like, being able to realize it. Like, yeah, calling people over and putting resources in place to take advantage of your bomb, like, to make your bomb work, is, like, a vital thing to do there, yeah. So that'll definitely be helping you out the next time going forward. I do think something you could try and do a bit as well is, like, you see their team kind of going for these, like, aggro crit streak plays, right? When their team is on crit streak, that signals for you that you can trade your life and just land 2 rockets on the medic if there isn't a pyro near him, and kill the medic basically every single time and entirely stuff their crit streak. If you, like, spot that half time, if it's not just a crit streak on a heavy, it is fantastic to just trade your life to neutralize their crits, because that's essentially, like, their Uber and then some. It's, like, the entire point of their play, basically, and if their crit streak is out of the factor, then their team is just going to get rolled from your team's Uber afterwards. So if you ever find yourself in a position where it's like, okay, they're on crits, we're getting rolled, you kind of, like, just collapse in them from a lot of different angles, make sure that crits medic goes down, because then they just kind of lose the fight afterwards when you Uber. It's like you gotta prevent them from being in a good position to use the crits if your team isn't responding well to the crits. If they aren't countering it, you gotta take matters into your own hand, yeah. So I'd say, like, that's definitely something you maybe could experiment with doing more there, like, when they're trying to play from around bats, you're, like, when they're just kind of walking in, definitely. I think it's like you can maybe do a bit less fearing and just trading your life for it to make sure the crits goes down.
Because when they restrict it, I feel like, you know, could have done? I could have probably just, like, jumped the soldier and just, like, you know, me and him just, like, decide which roof, like, if we're going to take over roof or not.
Right.
Like, who's going to win this roof fight.
For sure,
But,
yeah, like, you're not really winning from the low gun.
Yeah, basically, like, fighting over the roof against him.
Yeah.
Then I could probably just, like, you know, went around, like, came out a bit there, enemy big door, and kind of just, like, finished off medic or pyro or something.
The shutter?
Yeah, the shutter.
Yeah, shutter's the term. Yeah, a little bit confused for a sec, but then wait, there's only one big door. Yeah, I mean, if you're finding a situation, like, you're kind of taking, like, what I said earlier, and, like, and kind of, like, applying that to other situations, yeah, about just, like, repositioning, like, taking different fights. Yeah, like, that's a pretty good example. Like, if you're finding that you're not able to really, like, have a good engagement, then just pick a different one. You have the ability to, yeah. It's good to hear. Especially if a mix kind of like split off alone-ish and it's like only like one player in the combo, then yeah, pretty good to chase for it. Trade your life for it. Oh, you do try and go for a bomb there. You don't really have anybody shooting at the soldier, like no players supporting you on bats there at the time. So you kind of just end up going down to him. You do kind of stop from being able to do much for a bit, so that's good. Like, at the very least, it's like you kind of stalled him. You're not gonna really have the best time on bats, if I'm gonna be honest, on the rollouts, if you're not getting support around there from your engineer or scout or whatever. Especially if they keep trying to contest strafe a lot. So it's like, at the very least, you know, you prevented their soldier from having that much impact, and that in itself is impact.
Hey, Gibby,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have a muddy tonight.
For engineer,
Yeah,
and Joker is
partying.
nice. Nothing wrong with that. Even though he just got back from vacation, but still nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So
You're-
I'll basically try and keep my stick with my engineer and keep him, you know, coordinated and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you're on bats especially, I'd say. Otherwise, it's like, your engineer could be a lot
No,
more.
I was talking like in general. I was talking in Doki.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
No, basically, protect my engineer, right? As well.
You can, yes.
Because like we're the flank, right? And we gotta
Yeah.
protect each other.
Essentially, your NG scout and soldiers should be the flank until the scout is called for Uber or you're called for a sack.
There will be
Or-
times.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Unless, like, well, unless there are no Ubers, then you all play together and you push together, or you do the countless things that Liz Tank has told you.
The list of many options. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time you will be playing kind of close to your NG. There will be some times where it's like you're on your bats and they're on ramp or something, playing more with your combo. But like, for the most part, you still want to be like kind of coordinating with your flank so they know when to rotate back, like when you're rotating. Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say specifically though, like with something like Product as an example, there might be times where it's like your engineer is being called to just play more passively and spy check as well. Like that's one of the things that might also happen with your engineer. In that time, it's like in those cases, it's like you could play a little more independently of them, or like you won't necessarily be coordinating with them as much. But that's all I'd have to say on that for now.
If you had hit that, I would scream.
You miss every shot you don't take. See, definitely back out at this point. Yeah, I do think you benefit from using your whip a little more actively there, especially when you're like super low HP and your pyro's low HP. It's like you might as well just like use the whip a bit more often, get more mobility off of it, get more value off of it, and just make sure that you two are like more likely to win there. Because it's like when you're that low HP, it doesn't matter if you get an extra shot off or not, versus enemies that are full HP. It's all about just like having the extra mobility there, especially if you don't have health to jump. There. Yeah, trying to hold bats. Most of your team is dead though. At a certain point, you might just like start having the expectation that okay, they're going to be forward holding bats, they're going to be aggressing on our bats. Maybe I should just like play more passively instead, and that's kind of like something that you might need to like be a bit more aware of, or like experience more of, kind of like as you play more. Like there's definitely going to be times where it's like you could roll out to fight a good shot, and it does look like you're getting a lot of like work done like on fights when it's like you're jumping into them. Yeah, you're definitely syncing things up well. But anyways, back to the topic. It's important to know like when to roll out and when not to roll out. So it's like if you see that the majority of your players are dead and you've seen the enemy team play forward or like peek on your side of the maps at all, like it can be a bit wiser just to delay your rollout until you can like get a buff until your flank's up at the least and your team's in a position to like pressure together, you know? And that's definitely like something I could see for sure in this one that hasn't really been covered necessarily. Yeah. And in general, I guess like to be more going to something like Product, but it's very important to make sure that you're like waiting for your flank to be in a position to push with you before pushing. A lot of the time it's like you could be calling your scout over, you could be going like further in the enemy's side a lot of the time here. But definitely it's like, yeah, especially if you're like down some players already, it's like a good idea just delay it for a bit, get your flankers in a position to push with you, and then it's like you could go for one better push, even if it costs you a little bit of time to like set up. Having one better push is going to be better than like a lot of sloppy pushes. So just making sure you have those resources in place is going to help you a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll try and just like see if somebody like needs help.
Yeah, kind of just like
during a fight.
ask questions or be the person that like, or like, yeah, either have your team ask questions to you, like get used to doing that, or ask more questions yourself, or outright like tell people to do things. Like either be the source of, you know, coordination or have them coordinate with you. Yep. And you will have a much better time. It doesn't matter who does it, like it's usually a mix of things. Like I'll usually be very assertive and get people like do things, organize things on my own, but then it's like at times I don't have the best vision and I realize that, so I'll like wait for my team to give me a call. Going off that. So yeah, the specifics don't really matter. Usually the soldier does call most of the things for the flank, and then it's just like, yeah, it's a mix of the spy calling things for the soldier asking the spy things, the combo asking the soldier things, and vice versa. It's not anything like written hard in stone, but it is important that you like are very proactive with it, that you try and coordinate a lot. Yeah. Let's see. Get a little spaced out initially. Get the pack on bat. Spy gets it. Kill Spy. Cool.
Fucker stole my pet. Can't help shit in Asheville.
Truly. I'm assuming if you got that pack, you'd probably have re-bombed this.
Oh yeah, you want to see something funny?
Sure.
That I do? You have to wait during the middle of it.
Alright. Team's playing passive, so you play roof here. Yep, that's fine. Spy goes down. That's good.
Yeah, I know I wasn't supposed to be here during the combo, but still.
Yeah, sometimes stuff just happens, yeah. I have many there, so you can't chase that well, but you maybe could have just, like, landed and gotten a rocket off the attic. They're down heavy, probably would have gone for that bomb there, given the context they're down heavy.
I have a question. Is it worth risking your life into going into like 3 people in front of you? Like if I'm a soldier and like if I want to like kill like a medic, but there's like people in front of me, is it worth just like taking that risk or like killing somebody else?
If you have high ground or something to launch yourself off of already, like if you could do it from here, it's worth it because you can kind of just go past other players, like especially if you have a damage call already, that's what you're really listening for. Otherwise it's just like, sometimes you might not be able to escape as it is, so you might as well just die faster and potentially get a kill while you're at it. It really just depends on the context, but for the most part, I wouldn't just launch yourself in without reason. It's just like, if there's something else to work off of, like there, your team is pressuring them, so you bomb in and you get a lot done. That's kind of like what you'd be looking at, just like other things to work off of. So like, let's take there, like, your team's using Uber on point, they're all focused on the Uber, denying that, and they crit Skrig. You saw the crit sticky line around here from around here, so that's a situation where it's like you could have absolutely jumped in here because there was an Uber to distract them, and like there's something else to work with it. But then if you just keep trying and jumping directly into people, you're gonna find yourself getting shut down a ton, yeah. Their scout spy is already dead. Maybe you could have gone with Entry there. Not the biggest deal. It's like it happens. Sometimes low HP soldier on their side, so you want to chase it.
And another thing too, sometimes I usually have a problem, like what the enemy team is thinking. Like if I know what the enemy team is thinking, like, but I don't know what I'm thinking. No, if I know what I'm thinking, but what the enemy team isn't thinking, then you know, like for example, like if like a say like a spy or like a soldier that's like coming behind me, but I'm thinking maybe I could go behind them, but I never really thought about the fact that they could do the same thing, you know? Like have you ever read the book like Sun Tzu Art of War?
That
Like what yeah. Like know your enemy, but if you don't know your enemy, then
yes.
yeah. It's usually have a problem with.
And you said with like knowing your enemy's part of it, kind of.
Yeah. I like knowing my enemy and knowing myself.
I see. Well,
Like
yeah.
like you I hope it makes sense if I'm on what I'm talking about.
It does to an extent, yeah, and that's something you kind of develop as you play more and more against the same players, or if you like start looking at their demos and whatnot. But if you don't feel like you have a good baseline understanding of like what an enemy might be thinking, just take a look at what they're seeing, right?
Mhm.
And that's sort of the best advice I could give you for that. And I can't really explain like the psychology of like, you know, whatever division, main, intermediate,
No,
whatever
that
this would be.
that totally makes sense.
And then it's like you just kind of like you see how they react to what you're doing, right? And then you kind of build an image of like how like what their sense is, right? It's just like, but you got to work from somewhere, and yeah, that's what the basis would usually be. Like, what would I do in this situation? What does the enemy team see? Yeah, that sort of stuff. Okay.
Cool.
Anything else, or is that, or should that be about it for the video?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you do around the world, but I'm wondering, since Upward is a scrim map, would it also be a good idea to go over that? He doesn't even say anything. He just says yes by doing.
Inside the mind of an insane man, starring me.
But I want to say hi to KO real quick.
Yeah. I'm swear though, Blitz, this is the last one. I'm not gonna make you go over like Side or Cascade
Nah, it's fine. It's fine.
or Steel because I'm guessing you need to do your own like scrims tonight as well.
Yeah, 839.3. I don't mind it that much. Like, again, I always enjoy having the opportunity to like build a bit more of an archive for like other people like agree, disagree with, to like learn from. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's like I'm definitely interested in having more out there.
Yeah.
But also, it is kind of an achievement, you know, being like, we're going around the world, we're doing all of these in one sitting. Oh no.
Man, imagine if we did do this Cascade, like Side and Steel, and you still have just enough time to do your scrims.
Yeah, we gotta speedrun it. But yeah, I don't know, like, it's about the dedication. Yeah, it's like, you know, I have the free time, why not? It's something for other people, might as well. Right.
Yeah.
Upward attack. So, there's a lot of bombs you can do on upward. First, you can speed shot in right around here. The risk involved with that is if they have a forward sentry gun, you die. If they're heavy, like, looks towards this way, you're mostly safe, but if they play here for some godforsaken reason, then you die. The biggest thing though is just Demo Man being like right around here. Sometimes they'll just dome you when they do it. Like some Demo Men are just goated like that.
When you're speed shot off of the
Oh, I hit a jump for once. Like right
No,
there, yeah. And then it's like
I meant back to spawn, like you know the upward jump, right?
like off the roof.
No.
He's the right side, the right spawn. The star bomb. You remember that star underscore?
Or better yet, more specifically, Musok. The Musok.
Familiar with the names, I never really paid attention to them. But I'm assuming it's just like
It's the one where you do a really high bomb into second from first.
right, like all the way around there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely fair. I don't like I don't think it's a very good thing to do. Like, they just stare back at you the entire time, and you just shoot rockets from, like, such an ineffective distance. You can do kind of an alteration of that, where you kind of, like, curve and land right around, like, here. And this was kind of, like, what soldiers started to do. I think it was, like, BFFL or something, like, started doing this as a counter to medics holding around here instead. And then medics stopped doing that pretty quickly around, like, Challenger Season 8 or 7 or Advanced Season 7 or so. But I don't think you necessarily see that one too often anyways, because I'm pretty sure, like, from my understanding, the meta's kind of reverted to, like, medics playing around more towards, like, here-ish or so. But the speed shot, definitely an option. That's an option, and then the other option is just to, like, pencil your ass into playground when you're spy and other people are going in and just try and walk with them through here. I think some variation of speed shot is probably the most effective. Honestly, like, I've spent years playing Soldier normally, and I just struggle so much with jumps, and it's just like, I don't know, it's something I really need to practice jumps in specific a lot more. But the theoretical side of things, you know, I got that down. I think definitely, like, just some variation of speed shot is going to do you the best here, though, and your goal is just to land right around here, hit a rocket on the medic, hopefully to maybe get reflect killed, which draws the pyro away from, like, your spy on their gun, or who's going to their telly, or is going for whatever pick, and it means maybe your demo man can get a kill while the pyro's distracted with you. As you're saying, Draggy?
In regards to jumping playground, if your heavy is nearby and the Ubers have already been done, or they're in the middle of being done, what you can do is, like, wait for your heavy, and then once your heavy is, like, on the platform but not peeking, you can make your jump with scout onto playground, and the heavy will push in with you.
Right. I normally like whipping the heavy, doing it around from, like, this side or so, and just converging on this little stair here, just using the momentum, kind of launching myself in and getting a good trade or two there. Definitely bombing playground, like, after the Sacs, like, once you're kind of going pressuring flank is a good thing. Playground is basically what decides first there, yeah. If you get pressure on playground, you get playground, you win. Hopefully you get a force off. If not, you know, it's like, whatever, it's something to do while you're getting curtailment, but it's something to do actively. But then after, like, your first sack or two, however many, you know, it's just like, keep pressuring playground, have your spy go for a stab or whatever, sap if need be, and just pressure at the same time with your flank. Like, this is something definitely where you wait for your flank to be in position all, and then you just go in collectively together, yeah. Yeah, honestly, that's most of it for attacking. Just getting those sack jumps off, making sure it's coordinated by far, and then just pressuring playground, getting presence off there, clearing heavy off most poorly, making sure your heavy gets off there, and then maybe, like, killing players around here. Like, you could shoot through this little top thing and try and dome engineers while they're running back with Rescue Ranger mini crits. I've had that happen a decent few times, actually, surprisingly enough. Like, sometimes teams will leave out of sync. What's up?
Yeah. And don't you, like, just to chase him, you bomb with your demo as well?
Yes, over, like, the top left, or you can speed shot across the right side for sure. That was a pathetic jump. As you can tell, I take great pride in my jumps. I'm so good at this game. I'm usually a bit better when I'm, like, not actually, like, trying to do jumps. But, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, you're good at rocket jumping? Rocket jump as demo then.
So true, so true. Rocket jump as pyro, actually. I'm such a better rocket jumper on pyro than I am at demo, you know. Soldier, you know, the jetpack. Quite a theorist of it. But, yeah. As, like, they're backing out of first, you know, definitely jump in probably something like this, actually, yeah. Brain works now. I'm a bit frizzled from all this talk. But land, get rockets on them as they're backing out, go high if you want to, go low, I don't know, don't do drugs. You can try and speed shot across the right side, I guess I usually like sticking to the left side, whip some people around, hopefully if you can. Whips make everything better when it comes to speed and jumps. And then just get in, yeah. Now for pushing second. Your options consist of the following. Pressure side tunnel. Shoot soldier, get shot at for like 5 minutes, have nothing happen. Maybe die to a heavier pyro that decides to go in from side tunnel. Second option. Bomb in from the lower right here, the pyro's playing forward with the demo on hill, you kill NG, snipe, not usually sniper. Sniper usually plays around there. Maybe medic. It kind of works out decently well because there's usually a bit of a disconnect in positioning from like a Fora, demo / pyro, and a medic here. I found it to work quite a lot, at least at like killing dispenser and engineer and nothing else. And the main theory to kind of like keep a grasp of here is that if you win tunnel, you do not instantly win hill. If you win hill, you fairly instantly win tunnel because then you can kind of dive into it from behind. So what I like to do instead of just taking a fight from the low ground for the entire like round point basically is I like to either just go in and sack from below into them from a different angle, or I just like to kind of like go around hill a little bit, bomb in from like one of the many angles, and just kind of get on them, maybe trade for a sniper. Usually what happens at the very least though is that you launch some players back as long as guns get zapped. You might not get much done yourself, but it buys your team an incredible amount of time to just walk up and secure this vital ground on hill while not being contested, or like you can force an enemy medic super out and then it's even better. But basically it's like, I don't know, I just like to clear out hill with my combat, something I did with DCMC in Season 8 a lot. I refer back a lot back to that season, it was a goated season. But it's just like, it felt a lot more impactful, and I think it allowed us to get second a lot more consistently than our flank and our combo doing entirely separate things. Pressure through side tunnel, but unless it's your heavy, it's super easy to just get shot at and killed here and reflected. I don't know, I've just always personally been a fan of pressuring and helping by hill through some means rather than just throwing your head against side tunnel 24/7. But that might be more of a personal thing, up to you.
And another thing is that your heavy, or me, can also come with you to push the cart and help you pressure that heavy and soldier out with you. Kid.
Yeah, that's true. And then it's like you can do whatever after that point. Yeah. That's definitely fair, yeah. Pass the second. Bomb this, land around here. 2 rocket people around here. Really good. Team drops down at the same time. Always do it, pretty much. Game-winning move.
Yeah.
As they're backing out here, occasionally, like very rarely, like if the enemy team is hanging around this, like they respawn for a while, something you can kind of do. No, this is what you'd usually, like, this normally works versus, like, soldiers. Occasionally you can get other picks, but occasionally, like, teams will be slow during the rotation as they're kind of backing out of second. You can kind of just, like, speed truck rest, like, get super forward and then jump into them from behind and, like, get a kill or two, at the very least, like, a trade usually, by just landing at, like, landing behind them usually, while pretty much all of their efforts are focused towards the door as a choke point, or backing out. It's something that I've noticed from like playing pyro and just kind of forwarding there, like forwarding main. It's just like a very easy area to get kills on. Like teams are not very diligent when they're backing out of second, I've noticed. And as soldier, you're in like the best position to take advantage of that, definitely. But if you don't find it to be like personally effective, you know, don't feel obligated to do it. Oh yeah, loadouts real quick. First, stock gunboats. Second, I would say, honestly, black box is pretty fair. I personally almost always run stock, but black box is pretty nice. And then I'd say battalions, main reason being, if you're going for a bomb on hill, like, you're not really jumping around that often, like, you know, it's just like a burst thing, and I'd rather have, like, more consistency overall there on the flank fights, especially if you're fighting from in tunnel. Having the extra 20 health combined with black box is nice. But in general, like, I just don't find a huge need for black box, because it's like, you know, you're not really needing to do that many jumps, especially if you're not going in on hill, yeah. So I mean, experiment with for what works for you though. This point of second, battalion's definitely third, battalion's definitely, again, 1 jump is all you really need. You're either bombing in from like up top there, or you're bombing in from like somewhere below. You use a single rocket, you get in, and you're playing for just... You're not really playing for bombs there, and like you're not going for multi-rocket bombs, so it's like the proportional value of gunboats goes down a lot more compared to just having extra health passively and being able to battalions push any of these areas. Main goal of this though, spam people out, occasionally take wide peeks if their sniper keeps peeking it. Some snipers for some reason only spend their game looking up here, then don't peek that, just like play passively around here, don't actively walk in the doorway. Make sure you're backing out for health, make sure you're getting a buff before you take this fight, you get a whip, you can take your heavier sniper to peek with you if you need to. And then it's just like your main goal is preventing the enemy soldier and heavy from collapsing your team here. You're trying to get a pick on their soldier or heavy. You can work with your spy for that sometimes, or your sniper. But definitely it's just like you're looking to get some sort of advantage here. You're preventing the enemy team from having an advantage on their exchange, and you're hopefully killing both soldier and or heavy, and then if you can kill either of them, you're walking through U-turn here. And you're either getting a force round here, or you're jumping up through the enemy team's drop down and then shooting them from above, or getting into their backline from main here. And you're either like just further going into main, or you're kind of clanging around up top. I will say that is usually the expectation for once soldiers get U-turns, though. And this is very niche, but basically like you're always trying to get your way in. And something very niche that I did do actually one time, Season 8, yet again, it's my go-to seg, Season 8, Challenger quarterfinals, I believe, versus Yi. I like two-rocketed some people from CS here. Their team was kind of playing sloppy, I noticed that, and then like during an Uber exchange, what I did is, my team did lose the Uber exchange, but I basically just like shot my way back towards here, and they're like, okay, there's a soldier behind now, and the usual expectation, and this is something you can take advantage of, like understanding the psychological side of it, they're like, okay, there's soldiers waiting for us to like back out, right? So we'll just turn from when it's time for them to back out. I fake popped my head through like a few different areas, like main, here, so on and so forth, but then what I actually ended up doing was just, I did actually beef this one, I fell down, and then I jumped up, which is very funny. I'm such a pro gamer, but instead of just like committing from their drop down and then committing, and then like focusing on like going in from behind, what I did is I went in from behind into their drop down and then dropped a medic through it. So it's just like one of those little things where it's like, this very niche example, again, I don't think it's something you can necessarily take advantage of, but it is technically possible, so I figured I'd bring it up, and it's kind of just like more of a general example of just being able to take advantage of what expectations would be, to be able to pull off like a much more impressive play there. But again, just try and worm your way in here, spend 90% of your time on catwalk, maybe 5% below, jumping in, if you need to, when a sap's happening, maybe 5% CS, seeing if you could do something funny there. As they're backing out of third, if you could get in through up here, if you have good health, definitely do that. If you see an engineer or sniper holding around here at the start, 2-rocket, instantly die, game winning, then you can either back out, or you can bomb like this. Okay, cool, I didn't miss the jump, I was going to be very dishonored and embarrassed. And then you can kind of land at their team from behind. If the gun is up, you can't do that jump in specific, like if it's in here or something, but honestly, like, if your team's in a position of pressure soon, and you can get, like, the NG down and the gun down, it's very good if you could just get your way in behind the enemy team here and prevent them from being able to have, like, a safe backline, just spamming them, ducking into cover after the pyro, like, turns to reflect you, probably dropping down at a certain point, but just, like, making it harder for the enemy team to, like, monolithically commit to holding this. And once your team is able to clear it up, or you have like a huge advantage, and that's just sort of one of the things you can really do, like, to seize the initiative. Like, where it's like, it's kind of like, there's a bit of risk, but then it's like the alternatives are basically like such low value for the amount of time you're spending doing it, like for the amount of time it takes for you to commit to that life and then respawn, that your team's basically not doing anything at that point anyways. Very distracted by my rambling, but another thing you could do technically is if you see they're not playing here, you could just wait up here and then just wait for them to like peek. This is kind of risky though. If the enemy team has eyes, then you get spotted. I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing that. I will say I've done funny things with that, but I would just recommend, as you're capping through, like before the door closes, popping up here, tapping this, and then either bombing across there, or just backing out and then playing it normally. Play passively around spiral, wait for the enemy soldier to peek into you first, rocket them, bounce them against the wall, 2, 3, done. Walk through lower, whip heavy, whip wherever else. When the enemy heavy is like looking away for whatever reason for a little bit, or if they're shooting at your heavy and your heavy blocks a bit forward, what you do is you get in from below here, you get in Harry Potter, and then you 2-rocket medic, hopefully force them, or like kill them in the post fight. You're basically just collapsing here in Harry Potter. After that stunt. Okay. Beef. Anyways, as I was saying, after that's done, you bomb their top left here, you hold their top left spawn, you prevent their NG and sniper from missing up here, you shoot their sniper around there, your team walks in, they get on cart, they cap. Basically, you get forward to their spawn after you clear map upper, and again, you clear map upper either if 1/3 bombing in from over there to there, or if 1/4 either just like bombing in from below into this doorway, hoping their pyro's not looking here, and then just two-tapping the medic, or just bombing in from Harry Potter and just getting kills from there, like getting a force, whatever. And once that's done, get up to the top left, hold that, shoot them if they're on cart, and then you're fairly set to win the game. If your team keeps struggling with the heavy over here in the bottom corner though, and you're not able to get up top left, spam them out here, and that's going to allow your team to actually cap the cart. If heavy doesn't die, you're probably not capping that there. That would be most of offense. Battalions, I'd say again for offense, you're around too much. Like most of your jumps are just kind of staggered or like mini jumps, you know. So it's like just go for the passive benefit, as I've said. Ooh. Anyways, for defense. 7 o'clock. Okay. What's that?
The fun part.
Indeed. Defense, stock battalions. Third, definitely stock. Fourth, definitely stock for your offense. Well, on that topic. Anyways, so defense, stock, close to combo, safety net, good choice. Battalions, you shoot this. This is what I was kind of talking about a while ago. Like, I believe it'd be on Swiftwater with like the banners, like building banners passively like, by just like spamming spots, like in Garage and Swiftwater. So it's like if you have a banner on, if you shoot this, even if you don't see the spy spaz, like flash, you see bottom right corner of your screen or wherever your charge meter is, the spy, like that it's a bit filled, so you know like okay, there's a spy crossing through, like, or more likely like they probably kind of bait their cross and go back to spawn at that point. They're like, oh shit, I just lost like more than half my health, and then you could be like, spies and spawn, something like that. You don't need to make it a complicated column, just like something a little bit short to communicate to your team, like where the spy's left side or something, or like spy's left side is usually how I'd call it. And then it's like they'll normally bait it for a bit, come back out, or they'll rotate to a different side, but it tells your team, like, if the spy has crossed still, that he's coming from the left side, because that's where you splash damage on him, and you know that because you're on a banner. Anyways, keep spamming this for a bit. Maybe take 1 or 2 rockets onto cart. Wouldn't really recommend that, though, because you wide peek this. So a few rockets here, and then just keep spamming this, like prevent the enemy team from aggro peeking this. Their snipers usually mostly focused on the SVS or heavy pick on playground. So as long as you're not like being dumb with your peeks, you usually don't have to worry about being sniped that much. Once they start like getting out for noob exchange, though, once heavy demo get up there, you are either rotating to play like very passively back here with whatever banner charge you've gotten, and then once you see them start getting on flank, you rotate over to playground. You can like trade your life to like clear heavy off or whoever else is in this corner, or you can just stay here, and this means you launch heavies off, you prevent them from getting back on the playground. You don't really get much value off of holding top right the entire time because there are pyros with them there, their heavies there, their demos there, you're just shooting an Uber, you're doing nothing. But then if you get on flank here, it becomes so much harder for them to get like to secure playground, and you can just launch them off of playground. Most importantly, you can trade your life to like just land on them and distract them for your other players. And then another really important factor, you're able to just shoot cart. You can get a banner really easily. You can salvage a post-fight or like recommit to a fight with a banner here. Good stuff. Just don't sit top right the entire time, for the love of God. It does so little after they get this ground. That's the number one mistake you see on a board first defense for soldiers. They either spend their entire time doing nothing and then get stabbed by spy top right here, or they spend their entire time on playground, and you gotta strike it a bit of a balance. Second, upper side tunnel here. Peek this wide so you don't keep getting splashed here. Prevent them from getting ground in tunnel. Try and get an advantageous peek. See if you can 2-rocket somebody. Once more backups start showing up in tunnel, or if you start taking a lot of damage back out here, I really don't like sitting here the entire time on tunnel and just continuously peeking this. You just keep getting splashed, and then they're able to get card time. I like taking a bit of risk here and just playing forward to clear this off. You have people around that can kind of help you with that if you really need.
Like me.
Yes. But definitely, I do like being proactive here, because like, it prevents them from really getting the space in the first place. It delays their flank for like an incalculable amount of time. As long as you're the first one to take the peek, you're able to get the first rocket off, and you're able to just control where they are. Other than that, once you start losing that ground, I'd just holding much more passively in general here, and making sure they're not able to pressure your heavy off of side tunnel. Maybe like, if the enemy combo is walking over hill, you can bomb them from below if you still have tunnel grounded presence here. actually, kind of while I'm on that topic, yeah, so this can be a good salvage if they have Uber if you really, or if you just want to equalize in general, or you want to get a force off. Kind of on that topic before I forget though, this is my bad for not covering it more in sync. If your team loses Uber on first, like, and the enemy team has an Uber ab, have your spy call one medics on cart, and then you just bomb them from top right here, kind of naturally care of 2 rocket medic. Hopefully your spy distracts their pyro or whatever, their medics, like, it's just important to have that call be made, but it's really easy to salvage off that. But anyways, 90% of your time, just kind of bombing around side hole here. If you get battalions, you can push or, like, do a post-fight with that. You're just making sure they don't get through on cart here, basically. But then if they're flooding through on hill and you're caught here with your heavy, just focus on the front here and whip, just get a whip. Hopefully bust through, if not, get some picks on them, yeah. Just make sure you don't get caught out for too long. Like, you're either dying for something early, or you get out, basically, there. You don't want to just stay in there and have no heavier soldier for third for a while. Holding third, I like playing aggro up top here for a little bit. Oh yeah, actually, fuck. I should probably cover holding second passively. You can tell I'm like a little bit out of focus after this much talk. But holding second passively, if there's not an enemy heavy actively picking this in apartments, I like to get a buff. Like, usually this will be as I'm spawning because I died in tunnel or something around the time my team gets backed up to here. I like to get a buff, jump up here, 33 HP, peek this, keep peeking this. Occasionally you can force a medic, injure demo in a lot, prevent their heavy from being able to walk in. You can kind of hamstring their heavy along, like, if you take this peek first, whereas if you try and contest from around here, your only option is to back out or else you instantly die. Don't overstay your welcome there, also, though, after like the first 2 or 3 rockets, or else they pyro peek it. But again, I do like actively peeking this to buy my team some time here, as long as they're trying to contest this relatively from either one of these 2 angles. Usually tracks is a lot better though, but if you are playing forward here, it does mean the enemy soldier is able to get a lot less of a bomb off, because you're kind of controlling that. It's kind of like a win more strat, but again, stop peeking this at a certain point, back up to around here, and be prepared to just drop out of the window and then like leave third with your team.
I have a question though. When I was doing my map review with my heavy mentor, Nerks, he said that if I'm able to survive, I can go to apartments and hold it. And if Gibbs is told to forward hold there as well, we could essentially just hold apartments together.
Yeah, basically, like, if your heavy's up there with you, that's great, yeah. And you can hold it a lot more sustainably. If not, though, like, that's not something I see a lot of heavies do, but actually now that you bring that up, I do kind of recall that with nerfs. Like, if you can hold that with your heavy, absolutely do that. Like, heavy soldier combos are fantastic, as long as you're not just going to, like, be doing nothing up there when you get stranded.
I mean, hey, we can still at least try to force their med if they roll our team, right?
Yeah, like, if you need to equalize, you know, you might as well equalize. That's probably going to be one of your better shots of it if you can coordinate with another player, so I'm sure, why not at that point, yeah. It's just, if it's, like, more equal, just make sure you're not throwing your lives away for nothing, that you're actually going to be accomplishing something, but I do like the idea, yeah. The Alamo. The apartment's
Man.
Alamo.
Imagine, like, Gibby and I just holding off 9 people. That would be fucking
Legendary.
insane and fucking weird.
Yeah, Nerks is pretty good. Has a good mind. Anyways.
Yeah, I think he doesn't deserve to be in advance. I think he's one of the few an imposters that deserves to be an invite.
That's definitely fair. So third, peek this, spam this, delay them for a little bit, get a little bit of battalions. It's like a defense, definitely be on battalions as well. I would say, like, Black Box is a little bit understandable, but yeah, I don't know, you're kind of close to your combo anyways, and I really like having rockets for the aggro peak there, so I kind of have a slight preference towards stock, but I could understand Black Box. Third, definitely stock. That extra health does not matter if they are allowed to get space on you here. So it's just like, yeah. Aggro peek this occasionally, bounce people off once they start, like, peeking this into you, or if you take damage.
Gibby.
Hold here for a little bit, maybe get an arrow or so. Otherwise, just jump off, get a buff, get heals, and then recontest it.
Pay attention.
Class is still in session. And then, if you want to, like, if you aren't able to have consistent control of apartments, up top here, then you can catwalk. Fuck. Then you can definitely just back out to U-turn and recommit from there with your heavy in the post fight. But if you are able to just prevent their sniper from getting up here, prevent their soldier or heavy from peeking it, then you can wait for the post fight and just collapse from here as well. Most important thing though, just preserving your life and making sure sniper can't peek this. So it's like you don't need to take crazy aggro peeks. You can just blast the sniper off and preserve that ground. And if you hit people around like the entrance to the doorway, you can sometimes launch them off to the bottom of the house. But again, don't overstay your welcome. Back out when you need to. Last defense. Stock. Battalions. Health. Health. More health. More health. Battalions. Farm battalions, shoot people around here, peek this aggro as fuck. When the enemy team starts punishing for you, or like peeks it harder, or when they're actively pushing it, back up a bit. Get your battalions ready if you have it. Push that shit with your pyro, yo. Heavy, like, soldier pyro battalions pushes are so good around here. You can really get a lot of work done.
Especially if your scout pushes from under and absolutely.
Oh yeah,
like,
exactly.
beat the crap out of them from behind.
Just be prepared to like pinch, basically. Like, I strongly advocate for holding up top rather than below. On average, as soldier, it's like you're able to support your combo, you're able to prevent so much from going wrong, you're able to do so much when you're doing right, you know. Just don't keep taking dumb peeks if you find yourself losing spam battles there, and so on and so forth. When they go for an Uber exchange, though, like something you could do is drop down with your heavy around there, whip them, and then kind of collapse from below here, so that's definitely an option you do have. And in general, if you're able to like get behind, it's not the worst idea to just go behind and wrap around during an Uber exchange and pinch them from below, but do just keep in mind, like, half the time that you do that, your team's gonna have lost the fight by the time you get to there anyways. Half the time, that doesn't even matter though, because you just rock the medic wall, the pyro demo heavy are looking around here.
Yeah, just be aware though, by the way, is that the heavy might be waiting for you to do the flank.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, just peek it intelligently, like, maybe, I don't know. Spam corners if you need to pre-fire it. A lot of the time though, the heavies are actually like supporting their team during the combo fights up there. Like once they've gone to the point of winning that fight, that is. Like a lot of the time, once they've already won the fight, they rotate their way up here. On average though, you can't expect either a heavy or a pyro while the enemy team is still trying to take this ground to be watching behind. So don't just like throw your life into them, like wait for the post fight, wait for once the enemy team thinks they've won the fight, and then collapse if you want to. Or do it like before the fight's lost.
So there's like a bit of a delay basically.
Yeah. It's like one of those low rotational things that you can really take advantage of, like when the enemy team is like, okay, we've just accomplished this, you know, we're safe, now what do we do? It's the same sort of thing you see happen when like scouts just walk in and force or drop medics or kill medics here. Once your team gets pressure out of upper, you can either try and jump up here and recontest from up top, and just prevent them from being able to really cross for a bit. You're usually gonna have to jump off this pretty quickly, but if the enemy team is like out, you can sometimes snag a sniper or something. You can bomb from up here to over there, as you've seen before. You can bomb for cart as you spawn to buy a lot of time and clear them off cart. You can usually get a lot of kills that way, especially if your demo is already shooting at them and their pyro's distracted with that. Otherwise, something that is really, really appreciated and valuable, but that doesn't happen all that often, is for a soldier to support their heavy down here so they don't just get spammed out by an enemy soldier, which means you can keep preserving card time. And it's really nice to just not have to worry about your heavy being cleared out by a soldier or sniper or like a lot of things down here unless the enemy team drastically overcommits to this. And it's just a lot more effective than just stacking up wherever your combo is playing at. So that's definitely like an opportunity I'd be looking at taking. Definitely something you'd be thinking of working with, maybe after, like, if you're not really experiencing resistance down here, just get in. Like, you could bomb from below to up here, even. That's a pretty good one. Layout sniper, anything up there. Shoot the enemy team from above. Shooting the enemy team up from above is really going to, like, demolish their card time a lot. But definitely just be making sure you're actively doing something here, because you're doing nothing if you're just sitting at your spawn. You're either bombing for cart, bombing into an angle, or you're helping your heavy out and lower, pushing through lower.
Yeah, and don't forget about Harry Potter drop down as well.
That's more for the offensive side, definitely. But
What?
it is an option. Yeah.
What do you mean that was offensive?
No, for the offensive side, like for the
Oh.
offense team, like you're not really gonna find yourself in that many spots where you're able to just be, where you're going to just be able to like uncontestedly cross to Harry Potter. But like, I guess if you could get through lower, you could definitely do that. Yeah, it's just the thing is like if you get spotted around here, like around this point through flank, they're going to be expecting either play. Drop down, not really a factor. You like that one, I guess. Oh, I guess you're probably referring to that one. Anyways, any questions out of things from driving, anything like that?
Gibby?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, I'm still here, Dwacky. I'm just quiet.
No, I mean, no, I was asking if you had any questions.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I imagine you might be a little like conked out at this point. I kind of am. I imagine you would definitely be as well, so that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Blitz.
Yeah, I'm gonna end the recording.